I will teach you the secret prayer that always works. Fire, manifest your dreams fast. Beloved, listen closely. There is a prayer that never fails, a prayer that moves mountains, dissolves obstacles, and unlocks the very doors of destiny. This is not the prayer of begging, pleading, or hoping that someday God might answer. No, this is the secret prayer, the prayer of certainty, the prayer of alignment with the divine law of creation. It is the prayer that works because it is rooted in the eternal truth that what you assume as real within must one day appear without. Too many cry out in desperation, asking, waiting, wondering if their voice will ever reach heaven, not realizing that heaven itself is within. The kingdom is not in the clouds, it is in the consciousness of man. When you grasp this, when you awaken to this truth, you will never pray the same way again. For I will teach you the secret prayer that always works, and when you practice it, you will manifest your dreams not in some distant future, but swiftly, with power, with clarity, and with the authority of one who knows their union with God. Prayer is not begging, it is assuming the wish fulfilled. Most people approach prayer as if it is an act of pleading with a distant God, hoping to persuade him to change their condition or grant them something they lack. But, beloved, this is not true prayer. True prayer is not begging, nor is it convincing, nor is it trying to win divine favor. True prayer is the bold assumption that what you desire is already done, that your wish has been fulfilled in the unseen and is now clothed in reality. To pray effectively is to rise above the evidence of your senses, above the cries of lack, sickness, or struggle, and to enter into the invisible realm of certainty where your desire is already accomplished. You see, the mistake so many make is believing that prayer is about words, repetition, or volume. They think if they cry louder, plead longer, or recite more, somehow God will finally listen. But the truth is, God has already given. He placed within you the power of creation, the ability to assume any state of consciousness and live as though it is already real. That assumption, when felt as natural, is the secret that causes manifestation. Consider this. When a child imagines themselves as a king or queen, they do not question it, they do not analyze it. They simply put on the crown in their mind and rule with confidence in their play. That childlike faith is closer to true prayer than the anxious, repetitive cries many adults make. Prayer is not convincing God, it is convincing yourself. It is assuming the state of the wish fulfilled and resting in the assurance that it is done. The world outside is but a mirror of your inner state, so when you persist in the assumption that your desire is already yours, the mirror must eventually reflect it. It cannot be otherwise. This is divine law. Let us look deeper. If you are sick and you pray from the consciousness of sickness, asking to be healed, your very prayer confirms to your subconscious that you are still sick. You are reinforcing the state you wish to escape. But if you pray from the state of health, if you imagine yourself vibrant, whole, strong, living in the joy of wellness, then you are no longer pleading for healing. You are living in it. That is prayer. If you are poor and you pray from the consciousness of poverty, saying, God, please give me money, your very words echo the feeling of lack, and lack continues. But if you assume the state of abundance, if you imagine money flowing, bills paid, doors opening, wealth surrounding you, then you are praying rightly, because you are dwelling in the state of the wish fulfilled. Prayer is not about the outer words. It is about the inner assumption. Some may argue, but I have prayed and nothing happened. The truth is, you have prayed wrongly, for you begged instead of assumed. You asked instead of received. You hoped instead of rested in the certainty that it is already done. The prayer that works is the one where you already walk in the reality of the desire fulfilled, where you already feel it so real that it needs no external proof. When you assume the state of your desire and persist in it, the world will bend to conform. It may not happen instantly, but the seed is planted, and in its appointed time the harvest must appear. This is why faith is called the evidence of things not seen. Faith is not blind, it is vision. It is the inner sight that beholds what is not yet visible to the senses, but is already real in spirit. When you pray with faith, you are not asking God to do something, you are aligning yourself with the truth that it is already done. That alignment, that inner acceptance, is what brings the invisible into visibility, and once you truly understand this, you will never again beg in prayer. You will never again cry out in desperation, because you will know that the only true prayer is to assume the state you desire and live in its certainty. Think of it like planting a seed. You do not plant a seed and then beg the soil to make it grow. You do not stand over it every hour saying, "Please sprout, please grow, please bear fruit." No, you plant the seed and you rest in the assurance that growth is inevitable. You may water it, you may nurture it, but you trust the process. So it is with prayer. The moment you assume the wish fulfilled, the seed is planted. Your job is not to beg for growth, but to persist in the feeling that it is already done. That persistence waters the seed, and in time the harvest comes forth. Let us make this practical. Suppose you desire a new home. Do not pray from the consciousness of homelessness or dissatisfaction. Instead, close your eyes and enter the state where you already live in that home. See yourself walking through its rooms, touching the walls, smelling the air, arranging the furniture. Feel the joy of ownership, the gratitude of possession. Do not ask for the house. Live in it in imagination until it feels natural. That is prayer, and when you persist in that assumption, the outer world must rearrange itself to make it so. Suppose you long for love. Do not beg God to send you a partner from the emptiness of loneliness. Instead, dwell in the state of already being loved. Imagine the warmth of companionship, the laughter, the shared moments, the sense of belonging. Feel the ring on your finger, the arm around your shoulder, the words of affection spoken into your heart. Do not ask, assume. Live in the wish fulfilled, and the law of manifestation will bring it to pass. This is the secret that has been hidden from many because they have been taught to look outside themselves for answers, to beg an external deity instead of awakening to the God within. The divine lives in you, and your imagination is his voice. When you assume, you are praying. When you feel it real, you are aligning with divine power. And when you persist, manifestation is certain. So stop begging, stop pleading, stop waiting. Rise into the truth of who you are and claim the state you desire as already done. The beauty of this secret prayer is that it always works, because it does not depend on conditions, timing, or external factors. It depends only on your willingness to assume and persist. The outer world is but clay, and your assumption is the mold. Whatever shape you hold within must eventually appear without. If you assume defeat, life will echo it. If you assume victory, life will mirror it. If you assume abundance, it will come. If you assume lack, it will continue. So take responsibility for your inner world, for it is the birthplace of every answered prayer. Beloved, let this truth sink deep. Prayer is not begging, it is assuming. Prayer is not hope, it is certainty. Prayer is not asking, it is receiving. And the moment you assume the wish fulfilled, you have prayed the prayer that always works. Do not let your senses deceive you. Do not let appearances discourage you. Remain faithful to the assumption, and you will see it manifest in your world. The secret prayer is simple, yet powerful. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and persist in it until it hardens into fact. That is the law, and the law cannot fail. Imagination is the secret altar of prayer. If you truly desire to understand the mystery of prayer, then you must come to the realization that imagination is the sacred altar upon which every prayer is offered and every desire is born. Men and women everywhere believe that prayer is confined to the spoken word, that unless their lips move and their voice rises toward heaven, nothing has been said. Yet the deeper truth is this: the most powerful prayers are those never uttered aloud, for they are formed in the secret chambers of imagination. The images you hold, the inner movies you replay, the visions you dare to embrace, these are the incense rising before the throne of God within you. Imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the workshop of creation, the womb of all manifestation, the inner altar upon which you place your offering of faith. Whatever you imagine consistently with feeling becomes clothed in flesh and walks into your world as fact. This is the secret so few truly understand, yet it is the very foundation of the prayer that always works. Think for a moment of the countless times you have used imagination unconsciously. How often have you pictured yourself failing, losing, or suffering, and then seen those very fears come to pass? You may not have spoken them aloud, yet the quiet images impressed upon your subconscious were themselves prayers. negative ones, that returned their harvest. If the misuse of imagination can bring forth sorrow, how much more can its conscious use bring forth joy, abundance, and freedom, when you begin to treat imagination not as idle daydreaming, but as the holy altar of prayer your life will transform. You will no longer throw careless thoughts into the void, but will carefully select the inner pictures that align with your desires, knowing that each image is a seed that must bear fruit. Beloved, imagination is the key because God speaks in images, symbols, and visions. Words are secondary. Before a house is built, it exists first as a mental picture. Before a song is sung, it is first heard inwardly. Before a business thrives, its owner first envisions it. Everything that now exists in your outer world began in the invisible sanctuary of imagination. This is why you must approach your inner vision with reverence. Your imagination is your altar of communion with God, and whatever you place upon it with feeling and persistence becomes your reality. When you pray with words but imagine contrary pictures, your prayer is divided and cannot stand. For instance, you may say with your lips, "I am healed," yet in your imagination you see yourself sick, weak, and suffering. Which prayer do you think will prevail? It is always the prayer of imagination. The inner picture dominates the outer word, because imagination is the root of belief. True prayer, therefore, is not about the sound of your voice, but the sound of your inner vision. If you can see yourself walking in strength, glowing with health, and living in vitality, that picture will take root and blossom into reality. If you can imagine yourself rich, debt-free, traveling, living in luxury, and feeling the joy of financial freedom, then your imagination has already performed the prayer, and in time the outer world must bow to it. Many resist this truth because it feels too simple, too inward, too invisible. They are addicted to outer rituals, long repetitions, and outward displays, thinking these things impress God. But God is not moved by words. He is moved by vision, by faith, by the acceptance of the unseen as real. When you build your inner altar with the images of the life you desire, you have already offered the perfect sacrifice of prayer, and if you persist in seeing it, it must manifest. Let us take an example. Suppose you desire a promotion in your job. Rather than begging or hoping, go inward to the secret altar. In imagination, construct a simple scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. Perhaps you picture yourself shaking hands with your manager, hearing the words, "Congratulations, you've been promoted," or reading your new salary figure on paper. Feel the excitement, the gratitude, the satisfaction of having already received it. Repeat this scene until it feels vivid, until you can close your eyes and see it as if it were real. That is prayer. That is the incense rising before God. The outer promotion will come as naturally as dawn follows night. Or imagine desiring reconciliation with a loved one. Instead of rehearsing the pain of separation or replaying arguments in your mind, bring a new picture to the altar. Imagine sitting together, laughing, sharing warmth, feeling harmony restored. See the smile on their face, hear the affection in their voice, sense the peace between you. Dwell in that vision until it feels more real than the separation. That vision is the secret prayer, and it has power to soften hearts, remove barriers, and draw the reconciliation into being. Beloved, imagination is not only the altar, it is also the bridge between the seen and the unseen. You may ask, how can what I see within take form without? The answer is law. The subconscious mind accepts what you imagine with feeling as truth, and then it directs the outer world to mirror it. The subconscious does not reason or argue. It simply accepts the images impressed upon it and brings them forth. This is why careless imagination is dangerous and conscious imagination is powerful. If you dwell on fear, fear comes. If you dwell on faith, faith produces. The altar of imagination never rejects an offering. It manifests whatever is placed upon it with belief. This is also why many prayers seem unanswered. People speak words of faith, but return to the altar of imagination with offerings of doubt. They say, "I am prosperous," but in imagination they see themselves broke. They say, "I am loved," but in imagination they rehearse loneliness. They say, "I am free," but in imagination they dwell on chains. The subconscious accepts imagination as the truer prayer, and so the outer world reflects it. Once you know this, you will stop contradicting your desires with images of fear. Instead, you will carefully guard your imagination as you would guard a sacred temple, offering only those pictures that align with your chosen destiny. Now hear me, imagination must be accompanied by feeling. A picture without emotion is weak. A vision with passion, gratitude, and joy is unstoppable. When you imagine, do not merely see, feel. Enter the scene so fully that your body responds. If you imagine wealth, feel the weight of money in your hand, the ease of paying bills, the relief of freedom. If you imagine love, feel the embrace, the laughter, the warmth of companionship. If you imagine health, feel the vitality, the energy, the lightness of a strong body. Feeling is the life of imagination, and together they form the secret prayer that always works. Beloved, the world may mock imagination as childish fantasy, but the wise know it is the holiest altar of creation. Every prophet, every dreamer, every inventor, every achiever first prayed with imagination before they saw results in the world. They built within before they built without. They communed with God in pictures and visions before the manifestation arrived. You, too, have this gift. You, too, can place any desire upon the altar of imagination, feed it with faith and feeling, and watch as life reshapes itself to match your inner offering. Therefore, I urge you, stop treating imagination as trivial and start treating it as holy. Stop filling it with fear and start filling it with faith. Each time you close your eyes, you stand before the altar. Each image you hold is an offering to God. Each vision you persist in is a prayer in motion. The question is not whether you are praying. The question is what you are praying for imagination is constant, and you are always offering something upon its altar. Choose wisely, choose deliberately, choose boldly. When you understand this truth, prayer ceases to be struggle and becomes joy, for you will know that every desire is already yours the moment you see it clearly and feel it real within. The altar of imagination will always return to you what you have placed upon it, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This is the secret prayer, the unbreakable law, the key to manifesting your dreams swiftly. Imagination is your holy altar. Guard it, honor it, use it, and it will never fail you. Feeling is the bridge between desire and reality, beloved. Let this truth settle deeply into your spirit. It is not enough to merely think of your desire. It is not enough to simply picture it in imagination. Secret that seals every prayer and carries it from the invisible into the visible is feeling. Feeling is the bridge between desire and reality, the golden link that binds the unseen to the seen, the spiritual to the physical, the inner assumption to the outer manifestation. Thought alone is like a seed lying dormant on a shelf. It contains potential, but it will not grow until it is planted in the fertile soil of feeling. The moment you clothe your desire with genuine emotion, the moment you feel it as though it were already true, you have set the creative law into motion, and nothing in heaven or earth can stop its fulfillment. Too many live only in the intellect, thinking about what they want, analyzing, hoping, calculating, and yet their lives remain unchanged. Why? Because they never cross the bridge, they never bring their desire into the realm of feeling. Thought is the spark, but feeling is the flame. Thought is the sketch, but feeling is the color that brings it to life. Without feeling, imagination is faint and prayer is powerless. With feeling, imagination becomes alive, vivid, and irresistible, and prayer becomes certain. Consider this. When you remember a painful moment from the past, it is not the facts that sting. It is the feelings attached to those facts that bring tears to your eyes or heaviness to your heart. The memory itself is neutral, but the emotion makes it powerful. Likewise, when you imagine a future desire, it is the feeling you attach to it that determines whether it will be birthed into your world. If you imagine wealth but feel doubt, worry, or lack, then the bridge collapses, and the desire cannot reach your reality. But if you imagine wealth and feel the relief, the gratitude, the joy of already possessing it, then the bridge is complete, and the desire must cross into your life. The law is unchanging. Feeling is the one thing that determines manifestation. This is why many prayers fail. People think about their desires but continue to feel fear, doubt, and worry. They ask for healing but continue to feel sick. They pray for love but continue to feel lonely. They affirm abundance but continue to feel lack. The subconscious mind is not moved by words or empty thoughts. It is moved only by feeling. Feeling is the language of the subconscious, and the subconscious is the power that brings forth every condition of life. The world within creates the world without, and the bridge between them is feeling. When you understand this, you will stop asking, "Why are my prayers unanswered?" and instead ask, "What am I truly feeling?" For your life is a mirror faithfully reflecting the emotions you live in. To feel is to accept, to feel is to claim, to feel is to embody. When you feel something as real, you no longer question it, you no longer wonder if it will come, you simply rest in the assurance that it already is. This is the state of answered prayer. When you feel loved, even before the person arrives, love must come. When you feel wealthy, even before the money appears, wealth must come. When you feel free, even before the chains are gone, freedom must come. For feeling is the bridge, and the bridge is always faithful. Let us make this practical. Suppose you desire health, it is not enough to say, "I am healthy." Those words alone may bounce off the walls of your mind. Instead, close your eyes and feel health. Imagine the energy coursing through your body, the ease of movement, the brightness of your eyes, the lightness of your step. Feel the relief of being free from pain, the joy of waking up refreshed, the gratitude of living in a strong body. Let those feelings fill you until your heart swells with thanksgiving. In that moment, you are no longer asking for health, you are feeling it, and that feeling is the bridge that carries health into manifestation. Or suppose you desire abundance. It is not enough to imagine piles of money if you continue to feel anxious about bills. You must feel the freedom of abundance now. Imagine holding the money in your hands, paying your debts with ease, walking through stores without fear of prices, giving generously to others. Feel the relief, the peace, the joy of financial freedom. Let it feel so natural that you forget what lack feels like. In that moment, you are no longer begging for abundance. You are living in it, and that feeling is the bridge that wealth must cross. Beloved, this is why gratitude is such a powerful force. It generates feeling. Gratitude is not merely saying thank you with your lips. It is feeling thankfulness in your heart as if the blessing were already yours. When you give thanks for your desire before it appears, you are building the bridge with gold and steel. You are declaring it is done, and your subconscious accepts it as fact. Gratitude is the shortcut to feeling, and feeling is the highway to manifestation. Do not be deceived by appearances. The outer world may contradict your inner vision, but feeling bridges the gap. Even when your senses tell you it is impossible, your feelings can declare it is already done. Hold to that inner conviction, feel it real, and the bridge will carry your desire across. The unseen is always more real than the seen, and what you feel within will eventually harden into fact without. Think of an actor preparing for a role. They do not simply memorize lines. They enter the feeling of the character until they live and breathe it. The audience believes them because they believe themselves. So it is with prayer. You must feel yourself into the state of your desire until you embody it so naturally that life itself must play along. The world is your stage, and your feeling is the role you choose. Whatever you feel consistently, you will eventually live. Beloved, do not fear if at first the feeling seems faint. Persist, repeat, dwell in the scene until the feeling grows. Like a fire, it begins with a spark, but soon becomes a blaze if you feed it. The more often you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the stronger the bridge becomes, until nothing can keep your desire from crossing into reality. Doubt may come knocking, fear may whisper, appearances may shout, but feeling, when persisted in, will always prevail. Remember this eternal truth. Feeling is the secret, feeling is the bridge, feeling is the law. Your outer life will never rise higher than the emotions you consistently entertain. If you live in fear, fear will shape your world. If you live in joy, joy will manifest. If you live in love, love will surround you. If you live in abundance, abundance will flow. Choose your feelings deliberately, for in choosing them you are choosing your future. So I say to you, cease living in the coldness of thought alone. Step into the warmth of feeling. Do not merely think of your desire. Feel it. Do not merely imagine it. Live in the emotion of it. Let your heart swell with the certainty that it is done. Cross the bridge and let your desire meet you on the other side. The world will marvel, calling it miracle or luck, but you will know the truth. You built the bridge with your feelings, and by that bridge the unseen became seen. Persistence in faith transforms the invisible to visible, beloved. The secret of answered prayer and manifested dreams does not lie only in knowing the law or even in practicing it once with enthusiasm. It lies in persistence, in the steadfast refusal to let go of your inner conviction until the unseen has clothed itself in flesh and bone. Many begin with excitement, many dare to imagine and even to feel, but they falter when outer evidence seems contrary. They allow the noise of appearances to shake their confidence, and in doing so they uproot the seed they planted. But those who understand the divine law know that persistence is the bridge that carries the unseen into visibility. Faith is not tested in the moment of inspiration when your heart is high and your spirit is aflame. Faith is tested in the long nights when nothing seems to change, when the outer world mocks your inner vision, when every sense tells you it is impossible. In those moments, the question is asked, will you persist, or will you surrender to appearances? For persistence in faith transforms the invisible to visible, and without it, dreams remain shadows. Think of the farmer who plants his seed. He does not dig it up every day to check whether it is growing. He trusts the process, waters it, and waits with patience. Even when the soil shows no sign, even when weeks pass without a sprout, he does not despair, because he knows the seed is alive beneath the surface. So it is with your desires. The moment you assume the wish fulfilled, the seed is planted in the soil of consciousness. To persist is to water it with faith, to refuse to doubt, to rest in assurance that though unseen it is growing. If you give up, if you allow fear to uproot it, you will never see the harvest. But if you persist, even when the outer world is silent, the day will come when the invisible will break through into the visible, and all will call it miracle. Beloved, persistence is not struggle, nor is it force. It is quiet conviction. It is the calm assurance that what you have accepted within must appear without. Persistence does not mean you spend every hour straining to visualize or affirm. It means that you refuse to contradict your assumption. You may imagine your desire once or twice with deep feeling, but then you persist by living as if it is done. You walk in gratitude, you speak in confidence, you think in alignment with your fulfilled state. When doubt arises, you return gently to your vision and rest again in the wish fulfilled. This is persistence, the unwavering loyalty to your inner conviction, regardless of appearances. History and scripture are full of stories of persistence in faith. The widow who refused to stop knocking until the judge granted her request, the man who wrestled with God until he received a blessing, the prophets who declared victory while surrounded by defeat, all were rewarded because they would not let go of their conviction. The outer world must eventually yield to the inner state, but only if the inner state is held firm. Too many surrender too quickly. They pray once, they imagine once, and when results do not appear overnight, they declare the law does not work. But the law always works. What fails is their persistence. Imagine a sculptor chiseling a block of marble. With every strike, little seems to change. Hours pass, days pass, and the marble still looks rough. But the sculptor persists, trusting his vision, knowing that each strike brings him closer to revealing the form within. Then suddenly, what seemed shapeless becomes a masterpiece. So it is with your faith. Every time you persist in assumption, every time you refuse to give in to doubt, you are chiseling away at the invisible until the form of your desire appears in your world. It may seem slow, but it is certain. The masterpiece is already within the block. The vision is already within you. Persistence is what brings it forth. Let us bring this closer. Suppose you have assumed the state of wealth, and days go by while bills still pile up. If you persist, you will not deny the outer facts, but you will not bow to them either. You will look at the bills and still feel wealthy. You will handle the appearances with calm assurance, knowing they are temporary shadows. You will not undo your prayer by speaking words of lack. You will say it is done, and live from that place. In time, opportunities, ideas, and channels will open, and wealth will appear. But if you give in to fear and declare it is not working, you close the door and remain in lack. Persistence is the difference between success and failure. Or suppose you desire healing. The pain may linger, the symptoms may shout, the doctor may speak words of hopelessness, but persistence says, I will not let go of the vision of health. You see yourself whole, strong, free, and you hold that picture until it is more real to you than the sickness. Every time the pain rises, you return to the feeling of wellness. Every time fear whispers, you silence it with assurance. And though the process may seem long, the invisible work is being done, and the day will come when your body reflects your faith. Beloved, persistence is the true test of faith because it requires you to trust what you cannot yet see. Anyone can rejoice when evidence appears, but persistence rejoices before evidence comes. Anyone can declare abundance when money flows, but persistence declares it when the pockets are empty. Anyone can feel loved when embraced, but persistence feels loved in the silence of waiting. This is why persistence is powerful. It aligns you with the eternal truth that the unseen governs the seen, and the seen must eventually bow to the unseen. Do not confuse persistence with desperation. Desperation is born of fear and keeps you in the state of lack. Persistence is born of faith and keeps you in the state of fulfillment. Desperation says, "Please let it happen." Persistence says, "It is already done." Desperation clings with anxiety. Persistence rests with assurance. One repels, the other attracts. Know the difference and choose the path of persistence. Beloved, your outer world is slow to change because it is heavy, dense, and subject to time. But the inner world is swift and eternal. The moment you assume the wish fulfilled, it is real in the inner world. Persistence is the bridge of time that allows the outer to catch up. Do not despise the waiting. The waiting is not denial, it is gestation. The invisible is forming, aligning, preparing. Every delay is but the polishing of your blessing so that when it arrives, it is perfect. If you persist, you will look back and realize the timing was divine. If you quit, you will never see the harvest. Therefore, let this be your practice. When you pray, when you assume, when you feel it real, refuse to let go. Live as if it is already so. When fear arises, gently replace it with faith. When appearances contradict, remind yourself they are shadows. When impatience knocks, remember that seeds take time. And when doubt whispers, declare boldly, "It is done." This is persistence, this is faith. And this is how the invisible becomes visible. Beloved, if you will persist, you will discover that there is no such thing as unanswered prayer. Every prayer is answered the moment it is accepted within. Persistence simply allows the outer world to align with the inner truth. The law cannot fail, only your faith can waver. Hold fast, refuse to let go, and watch as the unseen becomes seen, the invisible becomes visible, and the dream you once held within stands before you as undeniable fact. For persistence in faith transforms the invisible to visible, and this is the eternal law. The secret prayer always works because you become one with the answer. Beloved, hear this eternal truth. The prayer that never fails is not the one where you ask, nor the one where you beg, nor the one where you repeat countless words hoping to catch God's attention. The prayer that always works is the one where you become one with the answer, where you no longer separate yourself from your desire but merge with it, embody it, and live in it as though it were already so. The secret is this: you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. You do not manifest by chasing, but by becoming. The moment you become one with your answered prayer in consciousness, the outer world must obey, for it can only reflect the state you embody. All the power of heaven and earth is contained in this realization. Prayer is not something you do, it is something you are. You are the prayer, you are the assumption, you are the fulfilled desire walking in flesh. The outer world has no choice but to yield to the state you have internalized. Think deeply on this. When you pray as though God is far away, when you ask from the position of lack, you are affirming the separation between you and your desire. You are declaring with every word that you do not yet have it, and so the subconscious mind continues to reflect that state of not having. But when you pray by becoming one with the desire, when you enter into the state where it is already yours, then the subconscious receives that union as fact, and it must project it outward into your world. The key is identity. Do you still see yourself as the one who is waiting, or do you see yourself as the one who already possesses? Do you still carry the old name of lack, or do you wear the new name of fulfillment? The prayer that always works is the prayer where you assume the new identity and refuse to let it go. Beloved, to become one with your desire means to move beyond words and into embodiment. It means you live as though it is done. You think from the state of the wish fulfilled. You feel the emotions of possession, and you walk in gratitude as though the gift has already been placed in your hands. This is not imagination alone, nor feeling alone. It is union. It is the marriage of your being with the desire, so that you no longer say it will be, but declare it is. In that sacred union, the desire and the dreamer are no longer two, but one. And because the two have become one, nothing can keep them apart. The outer world must conform, for it is only a mirror of the inner union. Consider the one who desires wealth. If he continues to pray from the position of poverty, begging for money, he remains in separation, and poverty continues. But if he becomes one with wealth, if he assumes the identity of one who is already rich, if he thinks, feels, and acts from that state, then his prayer is answered because he has already embodied the answer. The money, the opportunities, the doors, the blessings, all of it must come, for the world cannot contradict the state you live in. Or consider the one who longs for love. If she continues to pray from loneliness, rehearsing her emptiness, she will remain lonely. But if she becomes one with love, if she feels cherished, chosen, embraced, and adored within, then she has already prayed the prayer that works, for she has united herself with love. And because she has become love, love must come to her. This is why Scripture declares, when you pray, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Notice the words, believe you have received, not believe you will receive, not believe it may come someday. Believe it is already done. That is union, that is oneness, that is the secret prayer. You must see yourself as already healed, already prosperous, already loved, already free, already living in the dream fulfilled. To delay it into the future is to deny it now. To claim it now is to become one with it. And once you have become one, the outer world must conform. Beloved, this truth is not philosophy. It is law. The subconscious mind only knows the state you embody. If you embody lack, it projects lack. If you embody abundance, it projects abundance. If you embody sickness, it projects sickness. If you embody health, it projects health. There is no delay in the inner world. The moment you assume the new identity, it is done. The outer world may take time to rearrange itself, but the inner union is immediate, and once it is established within, nothing can prevent its appearance without. The challenge is this: most people live in the old identity while wishing for a new one. They want wealth but still feel poor. They want love but still feel rejected. They want success but still feel like failures. They continue to pray from separation instead of oneness, and then they wonder why nothing changes. The secret prayer demands that you die to the old identity and rise into the new. You cannot cling to poverty and embrace wealth at the same time. You cannot hold on to loneliness and embrace love. You cannot feed on doubt and embody faith. The old must be left behind. You must clothe yourself in the new identity and wear it until it feels natural. That is the union that produces manifestation. Beloved, this is why persistence is so essential. At first, the new identity may feel strange. If you have lived in lack for years, feeling wealthy may seem unnatural. If you have suffered sickness, imagining health may seem false. But persist. Persist until the new identity feels real, until you no longer have to remind yourself, until you simply are. That is the point of union, and once reached, your prayer cannot fail. The outer world must bend to mirror the new self. The dreamer and the dream have become one. Let us make this practical. Suppose you desire a new home. Do not simply pray, God, please give me a house. Instead, become one with the home. In imagination, walk through its rooms, feel the floor beneath your feet, smell the fragrance of new paint, touch the furniture, hear the sounds of family laughter within. But more than seeing it, become the one who already lives there. Carry yourself as a homeowner, think as a homeowner, speak as a homeowner. Do not say, one day I will have a house. Say, this is my home. That union is the secret prayer, and it cannot fail. Or suppose you long for a child. Do not beg from the state of barrenness. Instead, become one with motherhood or fatherhood. Feel the joy of holding your child, hear their laughter, imagine their touch, live in the identity of a parent. Let it be so real to you that you smile at the thought of it. In that union, you are no longer asking, you are being, and because you are being, the answer must manifest. Beloved, the world calls this faith, but it is more than faith. It is union. Faith believes it can be done. Union declares it is done. Faith looks forward. Union lives now. Faith hopes. Union embodies. The prayer that always works is the prayer where you step into union and never step out. You become the living answer, and the world must mirror it back. This is the great secret. Every desire is already fulfilled in the eternal now. Nothing is withheld, nothing is delayed, nothing is denied. All that is required is your union with it. When you become one with the answered prayer, time collapses, separation dissolves, and manifestation becomes inevitable. You are not waiting for the answer. The answer is waiting for you to become one with it. The moment you do, the veil is lifted, and what was once invisible stands before you in glory. Beloved, take this truth to heart. The secret prayer always works because you become one with the answer. Not someday, not eventually, not hopefully, but now. Enter into the state of the wish fulfilled, embody it, feel it, live it, be it, and the world will bow to your union, reflecting in form what you have already accepted in consciousness. This is the law, this is the mystery, and this is the power that cannot fail.